Our next speaker is Dave. Dave kind of razzed me about this being Thanksgiving because he organized the Turkey Palooza last week. And since Halloween, everything's been about Christmas. I mean, it's been that far back. So today, Dave will bring in the Christmas spirit with his How the Grinch Stole Christmas presentation. Dave's over.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guest, I hope you enjoy this as much as I am about to. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one knows quite the reason. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on quite right, or it could be perhaps that his shoes were just a little too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was two sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart were his shoes. He stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm, lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now, hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled and sneered. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here! Then he growled with his grinchy fingers nervously drumming. I must find a way to keep Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew all the Who boys and girls would wake up bright and early and they'd rush for their toys. And then, oh, the noise! Oh, the noise! Oh, the noise, noise, noise! That's one thing he hated. Noise, 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 noise! And the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast. And they'd feast, and they'd feast. And they'd feast, 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 feast! That would start on Who pudding and share Who roast beef, which is something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they do something he liked least. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. And they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of the Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought I would stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I put up with it now. I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and cluckled and clucked just once more. What a great Grinchy trick with his coat and his hat. I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. That stopped the old Grinch? No. The Grinch simply said, I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max, took some red thread, and tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags, and some old empty sacks, and a round simple sleigh. And he whistled, Max, And the Grinch said, "Get out!" And the sleigh started down. For the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. All the windows were dark, white snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first house in the square, "This is stop number one," the old Grinchy Claus hissed. And he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. He slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, well, so could Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk, with a smile most unpleasant, around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drones, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorns, and plums. He stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags up, one by one, up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took the last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, said the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove. And he heard a small voice like the coo of a dove. And he turned around fast and he saw a small Who. Cindy Lou Who was no more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this little Who daughter who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and then said, "Well, Santa Claus, why? Why are you picking my Christmas tree? Why?" But you know that old Grinch was so smart, so slick, well, he thought of a lie. Oh, look quick. Why, my sweet little heart, famous Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there. I'll bring it back here. And his bib full, the child. He patted her head, he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. And the last thing he took was the log for the fire. And he went up the chimney himself, that old liar. On their walls, he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 1:15 to dawn. All the Who's still abed, all the Who's still snooze. When he packed up his sled, packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet. He rode to the tip top, there to dump it. Boo-boo! To the Who's was his graciously humming. They're finding out now. No Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. And I'll do what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. Then all the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo! That's nice, read the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put a hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why? The sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry. Very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What was a shocking surprise, every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet, ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could this be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. And the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. Well, what happened then? Well, at Whoville they say that Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And through the true Christmas meaning of Christmas came through, and the Grinch found he had the strength of 10 Grinches, plus 2. And now that his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he, yes, he himself, the Grinch, carved those wheels.
Thank you, Dave. Excellent presentation. I think you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Everyone knows that song. Dave was telling those of us here early this morning how much he dislikes that song. But I don't think from the presentation that he dislikes this particular story, because he did a great job presenting it. Dave, a couple of really fine points in your speech. A clear presentation throughout. Everyone could follow the story, knew exactly where you were, and because we're familiar with the story, we also knew where it was heading. But you did a great build-up to your climax in the middle, slowly speeding up the speed, raising the pitch as you got closer. He steals all the stuff, drives to the top of Mount Crumpet, and then it falls back. And then there's the resolution of the story. A couple of things to work on. First of all, you were a little bit quiet at points. When the Grinch was talking, and he was growling, and he was whispering, the whisper was not conveyed very well. And I sat close to the front of the room so I could understand it, but I fear that some of the people towards the back of the room could not hear those quiet portions clearly. Another problem was, and this is a difficulty with any reading presentation, was you did a lot of reading and a little bit of eye contact. Reading the story is great, and that was the point of this presentation, so no bad marks on that, but better eye contact with everyone in the room, staying there and memorizing certain parts of the story for emphasis would definitely be a great point for improvement. Finally, try some spontaneity. Everyone in this room knows Dave is assiduous in his preparation for his speeches. Try a little bit of spontaneity. Leave a section unpracticed maybe, and just see how it comes off. It's practically impossible, but just try to bring some spontaneity. It always brings creativity, and I think it would give you just a little bit more interest to your listeners to have those moments, maybe a momentary pause, and bring everybody back in. I'll wrap up with a couple of great points that you had. The timely story. It's the holiday season. To bring in The Grinch Stole Christmas was a very appropriate story, and I think we all appreciated that. And finally, I think the best point of your entire speech was the characterization. From the big bad Grinch to little Sally Lou, you had a great characterization, and it was clear who was speaking, when you were narrating, and how the story flowed. Great job, Dave. Look forward to your next speech.
There's not it.